So I want to start off by asking you, has anyone ever heard of me, or did you guys know that I was coming today? Raise your hand if that's the case. No. Awesome. Oh my God, so really low expectations. Yes, this is great. My reputation doesn't have to be preceding, and you don't have these super high expectations, because usually when I speak, people know a lot about me. So I'm actually going to tell you nothing about myself until at the end, so you know what's really going on here. Okay, perfect. So my first question that I have is, and what I want to tell you about what I'm doing here today, I've given hundreds of presentations in the sense of online and offline and in person, and I will tell you that one of the things that I do is I always practice, and I'm always rehearsed, and I always know everything I'm about to say, and it's always a perfect presentation. It is something I've practiced over and over. But today I'm going to do something completely and utterly different. And let me tell you why I'm doing something completely and utterly different. This past Sunday, I was invited to this private event for just female entrepreneurs. And I went to it, and one of the big things that came up for me through the coach was, you need to learn to tolerate confusion more. Now, as a top student when I was in high school, as the person that has the written planner, anyone like to plan? Raise your hand. Yes, all my planners, yes. I am a serious planner to the point where I know everything I'm doing every 30-minute increments. That's exhausting sometimes, isn't it? So what I realized was, in order for me to get to my next level, I have to be okay with tolerating confusion. So today, I'm going to be putting you through an experiment, and you are going to get to join me in me being completely and utterly unprepared for this speech. Okay, so we've lowered the expectations really low, which is awesome. And the second part is, you know I have nothing prepared. Cool. Okay, so there's a reason why I'm doing this, because if I don't practice getting myself out of my comfort zone, I will always stay within that box. And that comfort zone is pretty freaking cushy. I have an amazing comfort zone. But to me, I've realized if I don't continue to grow and stretch, I'll just stick to what I always do. So can you guys be kind and gentle to me as I try this experiment together? And I promise you will get something out of this no matter what.
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. Yes. All right. So let's go ahead and start with the questions I have for you. First, how many of you guys are in high school? Raise your hand. Okay, I've got a full house of high schoolers. Amazing. How many of you are in 11th grade about to become a senior, like out to walk the door from being a high schooler to go into college? Okay, how many of you are in 10th grade or 9th grade? Okay, so we've got some early birds in here. Amazing. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to address all of you in this process of college admissions. And this is going to be very interactive. What you put into anything is what you get out of it. So I don't bite, and I want you guys to ask questions as we go along. Christian, do you got a question?
What if you want to get into grad school?
Grad school, I will address that too.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, perfect. So what I want to get started with is, first, I know that most of the room is 11th graders. We've got a few different types of high schoolers and different things. I would like to know, how many of you guys are from the California area? Raise your hand. Okay, so we've got a lot of people. Now, who's here from Texas? Any Texans in the room? Hello, Houston, Texas in the house. Howdy, y'all. Yes, okay. So I'm someone that likes to travel the world and live in a lot of places. So I tend to communicate, but I will throw a y'all in here or there. So what I want to talk to you guys about is specifically around the college admissions process. Raise your hand if you heard about the college admissions scandal. Okay. So raise your hand if it kind of freaks you out a little bit. Okay. So the day the college admissions scandal hit, I was in the middle of a call with about 100 entrepreneurs talking about how to better the world more. And all of a sudden, my phone started to blow up. And it's like, have you seen the news? What's going on? Your industry is in the news. What's happening? And I said, what are you guys talking about? I open up the news, and I am like, what is happening? Never, ever have I ever seen anything like this. And I've been doing this for 14 years. I have not seen anything like this occur in the news. So I am like, oh my goodness. So I have a colleague, I reach out to him like, hey, oh my gosh, can you believe this is happening? What should I do? Should I just stay quiet and put my head down, because that's what I've been taught, especially as a girl, just get your work done, do your work, and just stay quiet? Or do I speak up for all of the college consultants out there that love to work with students, that are passionate and actually do ethical work? So I'm sitting there in this meeting trying to focus. I'm obviously totally distracted through text messages. Has anyone been distracted by text messages before? Yeah, probably should have had my phone on silent while I was in this meeting, but I didn't care at the time. And I decide I'm going to put myself out there. And it was really scary. So I started to reach out to all the news stations. My PR firm was reaching out and said, hey, do you want a source for someone who can talk about what college admissions really is, what it really takes to find your passion, and how students can actually get in based on merit, not because they cheated the system? So I sat there and I said, okay, come on in, guys. Come on in, no worries, please. This is an interactive one. This is very interactive, very casual, very fun. Anyways, I end up on NBC, CBS, Fox, ABC, Entrepreneur, Success, Worth, and it was so crazy. I remember sitting in that seat and they've got all the cameras on you and all the lights, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, how is this happening? And then the news anchor looks at me and is like, are you sure kids can still get in based on merit? And I just looked at him because he really felt like, because of this scandal, that all kids are cheating to get into college. And I was like, every single day for the last 14 years, I have literally been helping kids get into college the honest and ethical way. If anything, my parents moved here with $20 in their pocket. My dad flipped burgers at McDonald's. And let me tell you, he was a vegetarian. He would cry every night when he came home because he got laid off from his engineering job. He was part of what we call the brain drain during the 70s, when immigrants were invited to come to America. They opened up a few visa spots, and I'm part of that lucky club. And I didn't get in because daddy made a phone call, because let me tell you, my dad didn't go to college here. Does anyone have parents that didn't go to college here? Raise your hand. Yeah. The process is super confusing for kids that have parents that didn't go to school here. So my parents had no idea what they were doing. If anything, all they ever said was, get all A's, get a perfect SAT score, and the schools are lucky to have you. Who here, raise your hand, knows that that's not always the case? And is that what keeps you up at night? Say yes if that's something that's kind of stressing you out. Yes. Yes. So here we are, we're fed into an education system that is telling you, get all A's in every subject, which, by the way, does anyone hate chemistry or physics or calculus? Okay, I'm an all A student, but man, did I cry in every single one of those classes. It literally took every ounce of me to do well in that class. Now, English 4 or Spanish 5 AP, I was a pro. But when it came to math and science, which I'm brown, I'm supposed to love this subject, right? My dad was a chemical engineer. We've got all the doctors in the family that you can count in any part, right? Because I'm Indian. And here I am, and I'm suffering at math and science. So I feel like what's happening in the college admissions space is that all of you are being fed to be perfect. You're taught to fit in with everybody. You're taught to assimilate and be like everyone else. You're taught to be popular or be part of the crowd that everybody likes. Whether that's, as a girl, I must look a certain way, be a certain size, act a certain way, eat certain foods to fit in with a specific norm. Ladies, does anyone relate to this? Raise your hand. Okay, I suffered from this big time in high school. Guys, you're expected to look like, 25-year-old males with like 6-packs and look super fit when in reality you're still growing. Raise your hand, guys, if you can relate to this. I mean, I was looking at the cast of Glee recently, and I literally looked over and I was like, aren't these guys and aren't these people in their 20s and 30s? Like, this is not what the average teenager looks like. I work with teenagers for a living. They don't look like this. So here you're taught, look like everyone else. Look like something you literally physically can't. You're taught to make all A's. You're taught to make the perfect SAT score, and these are the things you're supposed to be judged on. But I'm here to tell you that the one thing that makes the biggest difference in the college admissions process is to actually just be yourself. Literally. I find it fascinating because we're living in a world where we're taught to belong and be the same, etc. But in reality, what actually makes students stand out in the 4 million applications, yes, 4 million students applying every year into the same spots you guys are at, what actually makes the difference is you being who you are. But let me kind of break that down for you, because I don't want to be a motivational speaker that you're like, yeah, I want to be who you are, baby, Lady Gaga, Beyonce. Yes, that's not my style. Now, yes, I listened to Beyonce's Run the World before I walked in here, because, I mean, who doesn't do that if you're a female speaker? But what I will tell you is the concept of being yourself is really hard to kind of understand at a younger age. And so I want to break that down for you. First, I'd like to know, based on what I just said, because this is a little interactive, has everyone related to at least one thing I've talked about just now? Okay, cool. So I'm on spot. Beautiful. So I want to talk about what it means to stand out. And what I call it in my world is being a unicorn. My whole life, I've been a unicorn. And at first, I kept trying to shove that unicorn down and be like everyone else. Growing up in Texas, my beauty standard was blonde and blue-eyed. At one point, I tried to color my hair blonde. It turned out orange. Okay, suffered big time. My mom was like, oh yeah, you want to do this? You can stay in this hair for 2 days. And then she finally colored it black. It was the most mortifying thing of my life. I tried to fit into the popular kids. I was on dance team, so I only ate salad with balsamic vinegar. Gross. And so the ice cream that she referred to at the front, she's the cafeteria's ice cream. I was like, I never had ice cream in high school. So let me tell you, everyone, please have ice cream as a teenager, because later it's a totally different story. But what I mean when I say unicorn is I'm talking about the power of really being who you are. And what that means is not just the perfect GPA, the perfect test score, speech and debate club, future business leaders of America, model UN. I see this stuff on every resume all day long. That's not what I'm talking about being a unicorn or unique in the process. What I am talking about is the power and the authenticity to be vulnerable about the hard stuff that no one ever talks about. Everyone that walks into the college admissions process that's a teenager that I come across with, I'm like, so tell me about you. This is what I get, which always cracks me up. I'm 4.0 out of 5.0. I did all honors AP classes. I'm really interested in doing medicine, law, engineering, business, computer science, or whatever else, political science, whatever else they're saying. And these are all the activities I've done. And then they list out everything. And it's like I'm talking to someone who's reading off a sheet of paper. Now, I'm not discrediting that, guys. I'm not saying that those activities, those grades that you suffered through to make, that SAT that you studied, and we all know how frustrating that test is. I'm not saying that those things don't matter. What I'm saying is what colleges are looking for is what's in between the lines. What is in between the lines? What's in between the lines is the stuff that you can't read from your accomplishments. It's the stuff that when you talk about it makes you kind of want to throw up. It's the stuff that your parents may not know about. It's the stuff that when you think about might make you cry a little bit. That's actually what they're looking for. So when you get to that Common App essay, and it asks you, they even ask certain questions like, tell me a failure and an obstacle that you've dealt with. Tell me a story about your life or the community you've been around. Tell me about a problem or a challenge that you're trying to solve. It's not asking you to write this like an English paper. That is not what they're asking. They're not asking for you to be the perfect, well-written student. They're not asking you to answer a question that you think they want to hear. They're not asking for a perfect, shiny resume written off in this perfect way in 650 words. What they're asking for is, what is it that makes you you? And I will tell you, I truly believe this is the antithesis of what you're taught in high school. Can you raise your hand if that's accurate? Like, what you're taught in high school is to fit in, to be part of the cool club. Someone was telling me the guy from Mean Girls was here. Is that accurate? Oh my God, I watched that like 500 times. I'm like, I am so sad I missed that speech. I would have been like, I'm also a speaker too, we should have lunch. Ladies are like, yeah, I'll come with you too. But I remember watching that movie and being like, oh my God, I'm totally, what's the main actress with red hair? Why am I missing? Lindsay Lohan. Oh my gosh, did you guys know Lohan has like a bar in Europe that she doesn't even visit but makes lots of money? It's crazy. So Lindsay Lohan is the main character and she's a total animal. But what does she try to do the entire movie, guys? Just pop it out. She tries to fit in and she does it miserably. Miserably. She doesn't do it according to her ethics. She doesn't do it according to the values that she had, that her parents instilled in her, because that's what we're taught constantly. So I want to talk about today about what it means to truly be a unicorn, what it truly means to actually build out your story and what that looks like. So because I started off, and I know there's a lot of new people here, guys, I cannot tell you how floored I am that there's this many students in my session. I really thought I had set the bar really low in my brain. I was like, only 5 students, it'll be good. But this is incredible. I want to do a quick survey one more time. How many of you guys are 11th graders in the room? Raise your hand. Okay. Going into senior year, my bad. I keep forgetting. My documents are all 11th to 12th grade still. Yes, so we're very popular. I'm going to ask a second question because I'm super curious. How many of you have already written all of your essays? Raise your hand. No, do not make a funny face. I am super proud of you, dude, because all of my students have. Okay, so 2 people have written their essays. By the way, the people that should be making a funny face are the people who haven't started yet. How many of you who haven't started yet are kind of like, oh boy? Haven't written your college admissions essays yet? Raise your hand if you have not written your essays yet.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
Because I'm going to 11th grade. So
Okay.
when should you start doing that since you're like...
You're going to start 11th grade second semester.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the essay a little bit and how that works even for graduate admission as well, and what it takes to really tell the story that you want to tell. Everyone loves to know numbers and data. Do you know why? Because it makes your brain really comfortable. If I know it only takes 25% GPA, 25% SAT score, and 30% essay, and 15% interview, and 10% extracurricular, it makes me focus in a way that thinks that's what's important. But I will be very honest, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Grades and scores is what gets you in the door. It is. There are anomalies too, though. Okay? So you do want to be looking at things like the average freshman class GPA and SAT score. Yes. And let me explain to you why that matters. Because if you go to a college that is too hard for you academically, let me tell you what that feels like. I graduated at the top of my class. I was the speaker. So I guess you guys are getting a sense of who I am now. You're like, oh, now I know what this one is. Yep, I'm that kid. I ended up triple majoring in college at Rice University. And let me tell you, I felt so stupid every day that I was at Rice. It was the first time I was in a crowd of people that were exactly like me, but maybe not as cool. Maybe more nerdy is probably the best way to say it. But I will say, they got things sometimes faster than I did. Now at my school, I was the big honcho. So you want to make sure that when you're looking at like what is that average GPA or that average SAT score, and I'm saying as a gauge, it's not the end all be all. It is good to know and get a sense of like, okay, this is the competitiveness of this school. So yes, they're going to look at your GPA and SAT score. Now some schools do not look at the SAT score anymore. Do you guys know that? They're like omitting the SAT score all of a sudden. That's super exciting, by the way, because I grew up in the days of 1600 SATs, which now recently got reverted back. We had no essay, thank God. Sorry for all you kids having to write essays. Untimed, which is horrible. But they're looking at the SAT, they're looking at the GPA. But let me tell you what makes or breaks the application. It's the essay. Every day at Stanford, they have more than enough seats to fill, not just nationally, but internationally, with perfect 1600s and perfect GPAs. But yet, almost 6 out of 10 of those kids get rejected. Do you want to know why? Because they're boring. They're boring when you read their essays. And they're not looking for boring. They're looking for the unicorn. So when you ask me about the pie chart, my response to you is that. Okay? Sure.
Like someone who their whole life has been school and like their grades and their test scores, like how are you able to, in an essay, show that you're not boring? like,
Yes.
in my whole life is school, like, what's gonna be?
Great question. I'm going to answer that in my speech. Cool. Yes, you've had your hand up for a while. Persistence, love it.
How important is like schedule strength like into grades? So like if you're taking like all weighted classes and stuff like that, or like regular classes, into like the whole like obviously getting good grades, but like what about scheduling and schedule strength? Like how does that play a role?
Do you mean like classes in terms of regular versus honors AP?
Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, if you are taking classes that you know you can do well in, whether that's honors, AP, or regular, it's important. They obviously will be looking if you're taking challenging classes. For example, if I coasted by in all regular classes making all A's, I wouldn't have been at the top of my class, right? Because honors AP gets weighted heavier. So I was the all honors AP kid, but I wouldn't recommend doing what I did, which was cry every night being an AP Chem. I mean, you know what I mean? Probably should have taken Chem regular. So I would say it does come to like figuring out what you want to do and figuring out the classes that will bring you joy and not kill you during the semester.
Just a follow-up question.
Sure.
Do you know if universities look at like IB classes and stuff like
They
that?
do. They do. I'm loving all these technical questions. I usually get these from parents. This is the first time I'm having teenagers ask this question because this is really fascinating. So you guys really do think about these technical questions, huh? So what I would like to do before I get into more questions is I want to talk about the unicorn concept. I will get to the questions. And I love this because this means that you guys really just want to be heard and listened to. And you're taking the courage to ask me a question, which to me, you always get a gold star for that. So I'm going to kind of walk you through what it means to be a unicorn versus like the regular student. Now, what I could do, there's two ways I can do this. One is I can give you a story about someone I've worked with. The other is I can actually call on one of you and use you as an example and show you the difference of what it would be like where you're at and what it would need to look like when you apply. Would you prefer me to talk about it or would you like me to do a live example? Live. Okay. Yes. Now, with the live example, that means there's a lot of variables. It can work and sometimes it can't work. Can we be okay with the fact that it may not work, and if it doesn't, I might call on someone else? Is that okay? Yes. Okay, cool. So I would like to allow the room to raise their hand. Now, let me tell you what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a student who's about to apply to college in the next fall. So that would be a senior. I'm looking for a student who does pretty well in school in general. I'm looking for a student who does have extracurriculars that they do. I'm looking for a student who has a major that they're possibly interested in. Now let's raise your hand. Okay, I'm gonna call on you right there in the back because I saw you first. Do you wanna come up here? Everyone give her a round of applause. Yes! All right. Hi, Gabrielle. All right, come on up. Okay, guys. This is so fun, I have to say. Hands down, this is probably better than any other presentation I've given. I'm so glad I'm stepping into the confusion. Okay, so Gabrielle, I'm gonna ask you some personal questions. You have to let me know when I push too far, okay? And what you're comfortable with. Okay, so first, all A's, B's, C's, D's.
All A's.
All A's. Honors AP? SAT or ACT score?
ACT is a 29.
Okay. I saw that. Is there a little bit of frustration around that?
I want to get it higher.
You do?
I mean, I'm fine with the 29.
Okay, awesome. Dream school?
Don't really have one.
Don't have one yet. Okay, so still figuring out what do you want to do?
I want to get a BS and a Bachelor in Science of Nursing.
Science of Nursing. Okay, cool. So here's where I'm going to get into the unicorn part. Why do you want to do nursing?
I've always wanted to go into the medicine field, but what convinced me to not be I want to be a doctor is when my grandma had her stroke 3 years ago. I helped her with her medicine, and I was like, oh, I really love what I do now, so I want to do that as an actual career.
Okay. And did you do any activities, either extracurriculars in school, or did you volunteer at any hospitals? Have you done anything else to showcase why you're interested in nursing?
No, but I do plan to apply to work at a hospital when I get the age up, because the one that's near my house, I think you have to be a certain age.
I know. Don't you hate these age limits, guys? I think they're so ridiculous. I am always pushing kids to shadow and do things, and they're always like, until the kid's 17. I'm like, what is this, a holding pattern? I think it's so ridiculous. Okay. Maybe there might be a way to volunteer, possibly. Just see. You're precocious, so you could just ask. Sometimes it's okay to push when you get a no on something you want to go do. and you have a passion for it. I never took no for an answer. It's why I'm standing right here. Okay, so you're interested in nursing. What other extracurriculars have you done at your school? Are you at a public or private school?
Public.
Public school. How many kids in your grade?
Oh, in my grade, I think it's 235.
School total? About 1,000-ish.
Maybe 1,200.
Oh, so many kids. Who here is in a private school? I mean public school, sorry, my bad, public school. Yeah, holy moly, guys. And how many kids work with your one college counselor at school?
I want to say there's 4 counselors and 1 college counselor.
One college counselor for 230 kids, of which on average 5 applications, so they're gonna review 5,000 essays with one human. Raise your hand if you know that system's broken. Okay, that's why we exist. These college counselors are doing the best that they can do. I am not pooping on them. I am telling you as someone who even went to a private school, who had 20 kids to one counselor, I still didn't get the guidance I needed. So I really feel for you in this process because that's a lot of kids to one. Does she know a lot about you yet or no?
She just came. Well, you know, we're transitioning into like senior year, so I've never really used her before.
So she hasn't gotten to know you over the last 3 years?
No.
Okay.
And then I haven't set up my senior meeting with her either.
Okay, got it. So you're super new into the process, right? Raise your hand if anyone can relate to this story right now. Okay, so some people can relate. Cool. All right, so good grades, right? Good ACT score. Extracurriculars, what else are you involved with?
I do volleyball and I throw for track and field. I do National Honor Society, National Honor Society, and the science division of that. I do a mentoring program with the Deltas called Delta Gems back in Nashville, and I'm in 4-H Honor Club, the NSHSS. I don't know what it stands for. It's so long, but I'm in that too. And I think that's about it.
Okay, that's about it. That's about it. Hello, guess who did no sports? So I know how long sports take. It's like you have to practice every day and then shower after and then get to homework. I got to just go home and do homework. So that's not just it, right? You spend a lot of time doing sports if you're doing volleyball and track and field. Okay, so does everyone have a good sense of what her profile is? So imagine, I'm just gonna stand in front of you. This is what the application is seeing. They're not seeing what she looks like. They're not hearing her voice. All they're hearing is numbers, right? The common application makes most people look pretty common, right? It's just numbers and information. And then there's that component called words that make a big difference, okay? Just remember, you don't get a visual of this human whatsoever in the application process. Okay, so let's talk about something a little more deeper. You wanna study nursing, and the reason why was because you went through something difficult or traumatic. Okay, when we would work together on her essay, I would go very deep into that. I'm not gonna talk about track and field, I'm not gonna talk about volleyball, I'm not gonna talk about NSH, ABCDFG. It's not gonna come up in the essay part. It's on the resume. Thank you. Really, write that very in a detail and what you learned, and there's a whole way to do that, and I can share with you guys like my resume template and everything if you want it at the end. I'll send you a link for that. But that's not what I'm gonna talk about. She went deep with me already. So what I wanna talk to you about, Gabrielle, is what did it feel like to have your grandmother go through that?
I don't know, since it was like so sudden, we were like put at a disposition, like we weren't prepared. You know, we had to like kind of change our lifestyle for a little bit. It's just like, I feel like you killed somebody. I'm not trying to be emotional, like.
No, it's okay. It was a lot.
And I just don't want anybody to ever go through that kind of stuff. So I really want to help people, you know. But that's about it. Like, you want to cherish every moment you have with somebody. And the feeling you get when you help people in difficult situations is so amazing. And that's it. That's all I can think of.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. Thank you for clapping, because it takes a lot of courage for Gabrielle to get up here and share her personal story, right? I want you to take a deep breath. One of the things I love to do is hold space, because I know it takes so much when you go through something hard. To relate, I lost my dad in a car accident that was very tragic while he was dropping me to college when I was 18. And it's a major reason why I believe I'm so passionate about every child going to college and having an incredible experience, because I did not have that. It's my driver on why I work 7 days a week, nonstop with no holidays. She has a reason why she wants to be a nurse. Do you think that she is going to be a powerful nurse? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that if she had not shared her story, that colleges would have looked twice at just her activities and her ACT score? Say yes or no.
No.
No. That right there is what's going to make you stand out. It's about going into the messy stuff, because the mess is your message. The mess is your message. So what I would end up doing with her over time is we would have private conversations that are one-on-one. And my team does this virtually through video with anyone across the country, and we love what we do. And we would go deep with her about, like her why. So one of the big things she said was, I don't want anyone to go through this again. Let me tell you, I don't want anyone to go to college and not have an incredible experience, right? That's why I'm up here. Second thing you had said, it was really challenging. We had to shift our lifestyle. I would ask her to expand on that a little more about what does that exactly mean? How was that for you? So let me ask you that. What was it like to have to make shifts when you're the child?
So by her being in the hospital for a little while, we had to spend some nights there with her. And then maybe I had to leave practice a little early. We couldn't really spend as much money because you have to pay for the hospital bills. So we had to not eat out every once in a while, not do certain things, like that.
Yeah.
And then you had to always consider what if it could happen again and all that stuff.
Right. And how's your grandmother now?
She's fine. She's working again.
Okay. 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 Good. So when I talk about unicorn, you have how many kids in your grade again? 230? Okay. The 230 kids in her grade are probably not going to go deep on their essay. Actually, on average, 90% of kids never go deep on their essay. Raise your hand if you didn't know you'd had to go this deep. It's okay to raise your hand if you know that, right? Most people don't realize that it's the vulnerability that's what is really going to get you into the school you want. It's not about being the perfect kid. It's not. Yes, good grades and scores will get you in the door. But what truly matters is showing why you want to do what you do and being very authentic and real about it. She was able to go there with me. I think it's one of my superpowers that I create that space. Raise your hand if that's a superpower. I think it is. It feels really good to me actually to be able to say that out loud. I don't think I've admitted it to myself yet. That's what I love to do. So what I would end up doing with her is I'd massage through even deeper. And I don't want to do it with you right now because you're in front of this many kids. But I would go deeper and deeper and deeper into her why on nursing. I'd go into the details of the experience that she went through, all the way down to having to figure out the medication, what that was like as being a teenager and having to do that versus what all the other teens probably were doing on a Friday night, which was going out to eat and doing all these other things. But Gabrielle didn't get to do that during her time. And we would craft this beautiful essay about her experience. And then at the end, we would tie it all back into why she wants to go to that school for nursing in particular. Do you think an admissions officer, while reading your essay, is going to really have a stronger feeling about you now if you did it in that way?
Yes.
Yes. Do you think that your passion matters?
Yes.
Do you feel like your why is important?
Yes.
Yes. I feel like my why is very important because I want every child to go to the school they deserve to go to. And I want them to enjoy those years because I didn't have that. So I want to, first everyone please give Gabrielle a big round of applause. Yes, thank you so much, thanks. Does everyone have a sense, raise your hand if you have a sense of what I mean by unicorn now. Okay. So do you see how it's the opposite of trying to fit in? It's the opposite of what you're taught. It's the opposite of what you're writing your thesis papers on. Her essay is not going to start with a thesis statement that says, so in this situation, this is what happened. Here are my 3 points that I'm going to be discussing in the next 3 paragraphs. Boring. Can we say boring? Let's say boring. Boring, right? So really how her essay is going to come about is going to be a lot more about the story and feeling like I'm reading a journal entry in her journal that she writes in that no one else gets to read. Raise your hand if you journal every once in a while. Yeah, it's a powerful tool. I have to do it often because my brain thinks faster than I speak. And I'm not even speaking as fast as I normally do. So to me, journaling is really powerful because it takes the speed at what's going through my brain, the emotions, the thoughts, the feelings, and puts it onto paper. Now, no one has to read it. I actually, at one point in my life, I'd had over 15 journals that I'd written in over the last 10 years that I'd put in a safety deposit box because I was so scared my mom specifically would find it. So I put it in this bank's deposit box, which is crazy. And then I ended up throwing them away, which I kind of wish I never did. But I did because I had to let it go. I had to let go of the pain that was written in every single one of those pages. I want you to raise your hand after listening to Gabriella if you have something in your life that you know you could technically tap into that was possibly difficult that you could write about. Raise your hand. Okay. Now, I'm going to address the students who may not have something difficult. Raise your hand if you may not have that. Okay, not a problem. I work with kids that are very lucky. Sometimes I'm like, wow, I wonder what that life was like to be given those cards, because everyone's cards are different. Your cards are not the same as her cards or her cards. And don't try to get her cards, because it's just not gonna happen. I've learned this the hard way. I was like, why does my sister get the easy card? Married, 2 kids, happy, settled down, easy. I didn't get those cards. I just didn't. I'm too much. I want to do too much in the world and I want to change too many things. And I will do those things eventually, but obviously the cards have not been dealt yet for me. So for the kids that are unicorns, that may not have something that's like, ooh, that was super hard in my life, raise your hand again if you want me to call on you to bring you up. Wow, that's a lot of indecision up there. Did you guys see this? I saw this 4 times. All right, is that a yes or no? Because I'm not gonna do it if you don't want it. Arjun, are you a yes? Do you wanna be a yes? Okay.
Do I have to be going into 12th grade because I'm going into 11th grade?
I think I can work with you on where you're at. Yeah, let's do a non-12th grade example. Can everyone give Arjun a round of applause? Yes? Awesome. Yay! Oh my gosh, you're like, I'm wearing a 5-inch heel and he's my height. I'm like, this is amazing. Did you guys know I stopped growing in 8th grade? I'm 5'1"3/4. 8th grade. That was it. That was all I got. I was like, seriously? I mean, I literally, it's kind of crazy. I try to stand like farther from people so they think I'm really tall. And some of my team members meet me. I think Adam actually even was like, wow, you're like really small for like the amount of energy you output on the phone and everything else that you do, right, Adam? Yes. It's a lot to take. I think good things come in small packages. Raise your hand if you think so. Yes? Yes, okay. So Arjun, let's talk. Colorado?
Yes.
Ooh, fun. I've been there a few times. All right, what grade are you in?
I'm going into 11th grade.
Going to 11th grade. In Colorado, public or private?
Public.
Public school. Honors AP classes, A's, B's?
A's.
Okay, so we got some smart kids in the room. Okay, so we got A's, all right. What are you interested in studying?
I'm interested in bioengineering.
Ooh, bioengineering. Guys, do you know how hard that major is? It is so hard. I'm just telling you because I would never do it, right? It's so hard. I had a lot of guy friends and girlfriends that did that major, and I was like, good luck, have fun. A lot of people from Rice do that major because they're a Rice Baylor. Okay, so bioengineering, going into 11th grade, solid on grades. Parents go to college here or not?
Yes, they did. They went to college in India and here.
Okay, cool. Did they do undergrad here?
I don't know exactly.
They did not, I don't think. Yeah, it's graduate school. Okay, cool. I talk to these types of parents a lot, so I'm like, wait, I think I know this one. Okay, tell me about the extracurriculars you're involved in right now.
So I do play tennis. And then also I'm in a couple of different science clubs. Science Olympiad. I form my own club, Science Edge.
Ooh.
Then I'm part of Youth Advisory Board, which is like my school culture community. Then NHS, and then participated in chemistry competitions.
Okay. Okay, so lots of science. Raise your hand if you heard science everywhere in that. Yes. So not surprised, maybe bioengineering is going to be the route he wants to go, right? Not philosophy, right?
No.
No. Creative writing?
No.
No? Okay, no, not want to do that. So let's be real. Probably, I'm assuming in English you don't really like writing your papers and essays as much as a chem lab?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. The thing is, when I do something, I'm a very C person and disc personality that I tend to try to make everything perfect. So even when I'm writing an English paper, I try to make everything perfect, and I spend too much time on it.
Are you an older or younger sibling?
I don't have any
Your
siblings.
only sibling, okay. Fascinating. Disc profile. Does anyone know what that is? Raise your hand. You guys took it. Oh my God. Oh my God, these letters mean this? Guys, I did not get the memo. So do you guys want to hear what my profile is before I go deeper here?
Yeah.
So has anyone heard of Tony Robbins?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I heard about disc profile. I started his stuff 6 years ago. And I took the disc profile test off his website, and we actually have the exact same personality test. I found out through one of his team members. I'm a 99 on D and a 99 on I. I'm a 27 on S and a 14 on C. So, can you imagine the two of us, in general, trying to do anything together? Yeah, right? Because the C type is always going to be like, let's think about all of these steps. I don't think it would be very fun for you to give this speech without preparation. Would that be accurate?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, how would that feel for you?
Very, very nervous.
Very nervous. Do you want to take over here? No? Okay, so by the way, that disc profile, I took it like 6 years ago. I took it again thinking I'd done all this personal development, trying to change myself to be more agreeable and for everyone to love me and like me more, because I tend to be either you love me or you hate me. It's just, unfortunately, it's like my personality type. I took the test again, it's the same. So take the test a few times and you'll notice it doesn't shift as much as you may hope or think, or you're adaptable. It's just like, I'm so extreme on it, it's so different. Okay, so you tend to like to do things, you want them to be pretty perfect, which in some cases, we want that, right? So here's a question. Would you like it if the guy that checks the plane you're about to fly has his personality type or mine? Raise your hand if you want his personality type. Everyone should be raising their hand, guys. You do not want me checking your plane. No. I'd be like, yeah, that's pretty good. Let's go. Let's get this show on the road. Okay. Right? You're like, ugh. Right? Yeah, we go real fast, but we might smush into the ground. So bioengineering makes total sense based on your personality, right? So sometimes it's good to look at personality types and get a sense of who they are. And you haven't been through anything challenging or difficult?
I have been through one thing challenging, difficult.
Okay.
My dad had a quadruple bypass surgery for his heart, so.
Okay. Would you be open to talking about that, about why you're interested in bioengineering, or not so much?
Oh, why I'm interested in bioengineering?
Is it related?
It's not related.
It's
no.
not related. Okay. Okay. What does your dad do for a living?
He's he has a master's in computer science, but he helps my mom's business with accounting.
Okay, so they're not in medicine at all, of any sort.
My mom's a dentist.
Your mom's a dentist. Always curious to learn, because if we're talking about someone who's not going through something too challenging, which that was a challenge, let me rephrase that, but I always like to get a sense of the history of what's happening. Okay, so why are you interested in bioengineering then?
So the thing was, I watched a very, very powerful video by Janine Benyus, and it highlights something called biomimicry. That's a specific field in bioengineering that I want to get into. So I always, when I go around, I'm a big advocate for helping the planet, saving the planet, combating climate change, building a sustainable world. And what she argues is that you can use the principles from biology, the biosphere, how they have lived for 3.8 billion years on the planet sustainably and still lived within the boundaries of the Earth, and using those design principles in our daily life to create our own sustainable world. So for example, the wind turbine, how the whale's humps are shaped when they go through water, that can be mimicked so you can get a greater energy output using a wind turbine.
Raise your hand, clap your hands on that one. Okay, all right. Is there clear passion in this student? Yes. Okay. I would totally talk more about that, right? Because, so this is what I find fascinating. I grew up pre-YouTube. I know I look very young. I know. I look very young. But I grew up pre-YouTube. So whenever I hear about like a student learning something from a video, it's really cool because it's not that he just watched a video and said, okay, cool, skip the ad, okay, let's get to something else, right? He's watched it, he's understood it, he's synthesized it, and he has a passion towards it, right? So I would end up talking to him more about that, right? He's told me about a few other activities he's done. To be totally real with you, as someone who is South Asian, lots of South Asian kids do tennis. Not so exciting, right? I'm not gonna sit there and talk about it unless we've got like some interesting things going on with your tennis world, where there might be, but I'm just saying that like that wouldn't be the part I'd highlight, right? So that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. The unicorn part is not about the extracurricular activities exactly. Again, it's between the lines. Are you seeing the between the lines that's happening? Yes? Are you guys getting what's important? Okay, so we would end up talking more about that video he watched. The fact that like the whale humps are related to wind turbines, I'm like, I wanna see that link, I'm kind of curious about it. So imagine if I'm an admissions officer reading this person's essay, I can't see him, right? He's invisible to me. I just know his numbers, good grades, good scores, hasn't really done the SAT yet. He's gonna probably be prepping for that soon, and the PSAT for national honors. There's so much stuff coming your way in the next year. Junior year, by the way, is the hardest year of high school. Raise your hand if that was accurate. I cried every freaking Friday.
Oh no.
I cried every Friday. So good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck with that. No. Good luck with 11th grade. You're not done yet, my C. My C who wants to get off stage. Okay, so I would end up talking with him mostly about that whole concept of the video, his passion. You don't have to have gone through a tragedy to stand out in the admissions process. I'm gonna repeat that again. You don't have to go through a tragedy to stand out. That's not the true statement. He has a very clear angle and passion, and he's not even in 11th grade yet. I would end up working with you over the next year, and we would talk more about like, what are other things we can make you stand out? What are you doing next summer in terms of activities and camps? How do I get you even further into your bioengineering? What schools are you looking at, and are they doing camps on campus? There's so much more I can do with him since he's younger. So for everyone that's in the room that's not going to be a senior, you have so much you can do over the next 12, 24, 36 months to really create that profile. Now, he's come really as a beautiful package already, right? Like I can work with that. I can't wait to see what happens for you for the next year because there's gonna be so much more that you're doing. But in his essay portion, we would definitely expand more on his passion, where it comes from, more detailed. And we would end with, I plan on being at X university, wanting to study this major. These are the classes I may be interested in. I've already decided that this is my number one choice. And, I truly believe that I'm gonna reshape bioengineering and the way we look at sustainability. Now, this is his passion. Guess what? That's not my passion, right? Like I could never write an essay that comes out of this student and this person's passion. Do you see how every student that I've talked to or brought up here has a passion? Say yes. Yes. Okay. Do you realize each of you are the next leaders of tomorrow? All of you in this room right here. Thank you, Arjun. I'll let you sit now. I know he's like, okay, I'm good. Yeah, sit down. Okay, awesome. Do you realize every single one of you in this room has a passion? Now, if you don't know what that passion is yet, that's okay. That's okay. It takes time to figure out what it is, and that's totally fine. But if you do have an inkling based on your personality type, what your interests are, what are the things you actually like, the classes you love versus the ones you hate, and you can start putting that together, I urge you, I ask you to take some time to start exploring that. Journal on what that is and start finding opportunities. Do you realize you guys have more opportunities than I ever did during your time? Say yes.
Yes.
I didn't have an iPhone. I had a Motorola flip hot pink Razr phone. And anytime I wanted to text a boy, which my mother never knew about, but luckily she paid the phone bill, all right? Every time I text a boy, I had to hit every time 3 to get each letter, because it was A, B, C, D, E, F. Every single letter that I typed took a minute, right? I grew up during a time where I couldn't just watch a video on wind turbines. I had to read encyclopedias, and they were boring. So, there's just no freaking excuse for each and every one of you to figure out what you actually want to do. So I want to ask you, raise your hand if you, after I've done this presentation here, feel if you think you have a passion already of some sort. Raise your hand. Keep it high. Okay. Raise your hand if you don't. Okay. That's okay. Guys, interactive and open, right? Interactive and open. Remember? Low expectations? Yeah. Okay, cool. For those of you who don't know it yet, do you think that you could start taking a little bit of time, even if it's 30 minutes a week, to start looking at it? Say yes if you can. Yes. Yes. Okay, cool. Do you think that there might be someone else at this camp who may have figured out what they want to do that could possibly help you?
Yep.
Yeah. How many times do you guys get to be in rooms with people that are not all from your high school? How often is that? It's never, right? I didn't get that opportunity. I was stuck with just the high school class I went to. That's why I was so stuck all the time of being exactly like I was supposed to be. So what I want to do now is, first of all, give me a clap if you feel like this was a 10 out of 10 on presentation. Okay. All right, good. Whew. I'm always voting for the 10 out of 10 personally. Yesterday I talked with a student out of Beaumont, Texas. He had a 1520 on his SAT. He's about to be valedictorian. We're working on his applications. He also wants to go to Rice too, which is really great. And at the end of my session, I go, so 0 to 10, 0 being absolutely horrible, you never want to talk to me again, and 10 being absolutely amazing, where am I? He goes, 9. I go, okay. Please tell me what it would take for me to get from a 9 to 10 in your words. He goes, no one's ever asked me that question. I said, well, there's a point missing. I would like to know for feedback, and don't worry, I won't take it as criticism, what is it that didn't fit up to your standards so I can be outstanding? Actually, I want to be 15 out of 10 for you. He goes, well, when my mom cooks food, she always asks me if it's a 10 out of 10, and I never give her a 10. It's always a 9. I said, wow. The woman that gave you birth doesn't even get a 10 out of 10. Really? So I didn't say that, but I was like, wow, okay. Okay. And I said, so in your life, do you ever give yourself a 10 out of 10? He goes, no. I said, you're at the top of your class. You're at the top of your game. You're at the top of everything. Do you ever tell yourself you're really proud of yourself and you deserve that and you're a 10 out of 10 and it's time to celebrate and eat some freaking ice cream? He goes, no, I never do that. I said, what would life be like if you could enjoy yourself as you're achieving? How different would his life be if he could actually enjoy it? So I always ask that question because I always feel that so many of us think we have to struggle or be hard on ourselves as we're achieving. And I am living proof that what that does is it results in burnout. And I mean physical burnout, exhaustion, anxiety, stress, depression, suicidal thoughts. All right here. So if there's anything you leave from here today, it's about the power of being the unicorn. It's about being exactly who you are and not wanting to be anybody else. It's about realizing that your mess is your message. And I know it's hard. And I'm very proud of the people that came up that were willing to go there with me emotionally, because it allowed me to go there emotionally too. I also want you to leave as well with the fact that you can achieve and enjoy the journey as you're achieving. Because there's actually power in tolerating the confusion and enjoying the journey as you go along it. Would you agree, guys? Say yes.
Yes.
Now, can you imagine that this talk was not planned whatsoever? There's not one sentence that was written in my notes to do this. No. This is the beauty of letting go of control. This is what flows out of me when I take a moment and I look at each and every one of you and I connect. It's when I allow the magic to occur out of me. And I am telling you, it takes a lot of courage. Like, a lot. I woke up today and I was like, I have nothing planned. You can see it. It's like, it's scary. That's what fear feels like, right? But to me, I woke up and the one thing I said to myself as I was working out so hard at the gym, I was like, pump it up, Neha, pump it. I said to myself, be the light that you are. Let Dad channel through you, because he always will. Be the receptor of the message that's larger than yourself. Because to me, I believe that each and every one of you have that light. It's just about allowing yourself to shine through it. So thank you guys so much.